The Highway of Tears seems like something out of a Stephen King thriller. A lengthy stretch of road in a remote, gorgeous part of Canada. Hundreds of women have gone missing or been killed along Highway 16, a 450-mile stretch of road in British Columbia since 1969. Because of the horrors that have occurred there, the region has been called the Highway of Tears. So watch this video to the end to know all about this mysterious highway in Canada. Without waiting any further, let's begin. For over 50 years, there have been murders and disappearances along the Highway 16 corridor. The women who have disappeared on or around the 450-mile stretch of highway were all victims in the RCMP's, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Highway of Tears investigation. Monica Jack, a 12-year-old girl, was the youngest victim slain in 1978. Although the first tragedies and disappearances began in 1969 with the death of Gloria Moody, a 26-year-old woman, many of the victims were apparently hitchhikers, and their corpses have never been located. Therefore, they have been officially classified as missing. Indigenous women are involved in the majority of the cases. More than half of those victims believed by authorities of being involved in the Highway of Tears killings are Indigenous women. Many people feel that these women's social status made them targets of crime. Indigenous women of British Columbia were said to be particularly vulnerable to these attacks, since many of them did not own a car or utilize public transportation. Due to a lack of public transportation choices in the rural communities near Highway 16, women began hitchhiking. To investigate the cases, a task force was formed. The RCMP formed a task force dubbed by Project E-Panna to investigate the Highway of Tears killings in 2005. Panna is an Inuit word, signifying the spirit goddess who cares after the souls shortly before they depart to heaven or were reborn. According to the RCMP website, E-Panna was initially entrusted with investigating 9 Highway 16 related crimes, but that number swiftly increased to 18. Approximately 60 detectives and police officers were involved in the initiative until 2014, when just about 20 active personnel remained. Staff Sergeant Wayne Clary, who directed E-Panna, outlined the project's scope in 2014. It has shrunk as a result of the volume of work we've completed, but there's still enough work ahead of us to keep trying. We have significant suspects or individuals of interest in many investigations, and we are definitely focused on those. I'd want to sit down with the families and tell them, we've got the man. There may be more than 40 victims. During their investigation into the Highway of Tears killings, the RCMP discovered 18 victims. Local organizations and charities, however, believe that much more women have gone missing in the surrounding region. Gladys Raddick, co-founder of the advocacy organization Tears for Justice, told the New York Times, when it comes to the missing, racism runs deep. According to the community organizers, more than 40 women have gone missing on the route. Many of the investigations were likely obstructed by racism. Families and supporters for Highway of Tears victims have argued that pervasive racism hampered the investigations. According to these claims, authorities did not thoroughly investigate the deaths of Indigenous women, instead deciding that they died as a result of suicide or drug overdose. According to a United Nations research, young Aboriginal women are 5 times more likely to die than other Canadian women of the same age when it comes to violent assault. Some of the victims, Gail Ways, status, murdered and unsolved. Gail Ways, 19, of Clearwater, British Columbia, was last seen hitchhiking in October 1973, and her body was discovered in April 1974. The RCMP suspected Bobby Jack Fowler in her killing, but there was insufficient evidence to prosecute him. Colleen McMillan, status, murdered and solved. Colleen McMillan was 16 years old when she left her family home in Lac La Hache, British Columbia, to hitchhike to see a friend in August 1974. Her remains were discovered a month later. In October 2012, the RCMP said that the DNA evidence led them to believe Bobby Jack Fowler was Colleen's killer. In 2006, Fowler died in an Oregon prison. Monica Jack, status, murdered and solved. Monica Jack, 12 years old, was the youngest casualty. She vanished while riding her bike in Merritt, British Columbia in May 1978. Her bones were discovered in 1996. Gary Taylor Hanlon, a 67-year-old convicted serial rapist, was accused in 2014 with her killing and the death of an 11-year-old child, Catherine Mary Herbert, unconnected to the Highway of Tears investigation. Though Hanlon insists he is not guilty of Jack's death, prosecutors believe he confessed to the murder prior to his arrest during a chat with an undercover RCMP officer. Hanlon's trial commenced at the British Columbia Supreme Court in 2018. Hanlon was convicted guilty of Jack's first-degree murder by a jury in January 2019. Ramona Wilson, status, murdered and unsolved. On June 11, 1994, Ramona Wilson, 16, was traveling to a friend's house in Smithers, British Columbia. Her bones were discovered alongside Highway 16 near Smithers Airport in April 1995. Ramona used to be a member of the Gittin' Max band. Her terrible story was included in Finding Dawn, a 2006 documentary film on missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada, directed by Métis filmmaker Christine Welsh. The first conviction related to the Highway of Tears occurred in 1987. Edward Dennis Isaac, a serial killer, was sentenced to life in prison in 1987 for the 1981 murder of 13-year-old Roswith. Isaac had already been convicted of manslaughter in the 1982 death of Nina Marie Joseph, then 15 years old. He was accused in 1988 with the murder of Jean Mary, 36, in October 1981. According to reports, Isaac was convicted in part due to evidence from his ex-girlfriend, who assisted him in hiding Joseph's body. The man who killed Marnie Blanchard and Teresa Umfrey was convicted in 1995. Brian Peter Arp was sentenced to at least 25 years in jail in March 1995 for the murders of Marnie Blanchard, 18, and Teresa Umfrey, 38. Blanchard was killed in the vicinity of the Highway of Tears in 1989, and Umfrey was murdered nearby in 1993, but neither is part of the E-Panna investigation. When Arp became eligible for parole in 2019, he was denied. The first E-Panna conviction happened in 2014. Cody Lejbokov was 21 years old when he was arrested for the 2010 murder of Lauren Dawn Leslie, a 15-year-old girl. An RCMP officer observed Lejbokov, who was covered in blood on his face and legs, exiting the roadway. The police also discovered blood in his trunk, and Leslie's corpse was discovered just a few hundred feet away. A further inquiry found that Lejbokov was involved in 3 other killings on the Highway of Tears. He was sentenced to life in prison in 2014 and will be eligible for parole after 25 years. Although subsequent arrests and conviction in Highway of Tears cases have happened, Leslie was the first victim on the E-list Pannas of 18 whom murder was apprehended. Police believe Bobby Jack Fowler is responsible for 3 murders. The RCMP reported in 2012 that they suspected serial murderer Bobby Jack Fowler of murdering Colleen McMillan on the Highway of Tears in 1974. He was also named as a possible suspect in the killings of Gail Ways and Pamela Darlington, who were discovered along Highway 16 in 1973. However, authorities were unable to completely seal these investigations since Fowler died in a U.S. jail in 2006 while serving a term for rape and kidnapping. During the 1990s, law enforcement had linked Fowler to a number of sexual assaults and killings. He allegedly operated in several locales across from the United States and Canada. An entrepreneur created a website to assist in the investigations. Because of their dissatisfaction with the RCMP's handling of the Highway of Tears investigation, the local community rallied to give an assistance to the victims' families. Tommy Roman, a local entrepreneur, created and sponsored the Highway of Tears website to educate tourists about the killings and the surrounding region. The website also provides information on the victims as well as opportunities to help with the investigations. Highway 16 is now served by a bus line. Many people lobbied for a bus service along Highway 16, claiming that the lack of public transportation led by many of the victims to hitchhike. The British Columbia government began operating a bus service in the region in 2017. In 2018, they stated that 5,000 people had utilized the buses in the first year. In 2021, another murder on the Highway of Tears occurred. Kristen Marion West, a 36-year-old Indigenous woman, was brutally murdered in her Prince George condominium near Highway 16 on August 7, 2021. Although West has not yet been included in Project E-Panna, her family and campaigners believe she's a victim of the Highway of Tears. Dennis Daniel Gladue was charged with West's murder in October 2021. Despite the large number of women who have gone missing or killed near the highway, just a few of the persons have been convicted or even prosecuted in connection with the Highway of Tears killings. The RCMP claims that the Highway of Tears killings took place between 1969 and 2006, while some argue that many more women should be deemed victims, with incidents happening as late as 2021. What are your thoughts about this highway? Would you travel alone through it? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to check out these other videos from us as well. Links to those is given in the description. Please subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our new videos. See you in the next one soon. Thanks for watching.